Hi, and welcome to the Awakened Hygienist. My name is Tara Fournier. I am a dental hygienist and have been for over 20 years now. And in this video, I am sharing with you an interview with Astrida, who has also been a dental hygienist for many years. And she is the CEO of Core Dental Staffing, which you can find at coredentalstaffing.com or on also all social media links. And the reason why I wanted to interview her and share with you all in the Thinking Outside the Box series is that as a hygienist, we go through hygiene school and we are basically taught the traditional clinical version of dental hygiene. But we really aren't taught much more of what we can offer outside of clinical hygiene. And Astrida has created her own temping business. COVID hit and she decided it was time. This had been a dream of hers. And she decided it was time to pursue that dream. And so in this video, and a part of my mission and my passion is to share with you hygienists that there are alternatives within our profession. Sometimes we have that feeling of just being trapped and we don't really know what to do with that. And so we want to run, we want to get out. And in this video, you'll realize that you do have some other options. Even if you want to get out, you can continue making the hygiene pay that you are so familiar with while you are working on something else or working on something within dentistry itself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to introduce Astrida to you. She and I connected because she owns a dental staffing company, and I wanted to talk with her. And so we talked a couple weeks ago, and I got some really great information that I feel like is very important for you if you are an awakened hygienist wanting to get out of the op or just grow yourself. And she has a lot of good information to share with us. So Astrida, welcome. And so I'd like to start off with your story. If you could share with everyone your story of how you grew yourself into this business and basically kind of out of the op, so to speak, even though you're still working clinically. So just share your story with us.
So I graduated in 2011, and it was always kind of my dream to start a staffing agency, but it was one of those things where it was like, it was never the right time to do it. And so finally it took, COVID and getting let go from my job and a couple of different factors to kind of enlighten me and awaken me that like, maybe I'm just not meant to work full time for someone else. Maybe it is time to start the business and commit myself to temping full time for my business and running the business. So in 2020, when we were supposed to be going back to work after COVID, I decided, no, I'm not going back to work for my full-time job. And I quit and I started temping full-time for my business. And that's kind of where it all started. I dealt with a lot of burnout at offices. I dealt with a lot of bullying. And I was like, it can't just be me. It can't, but it also can't be every office that I'm going to. And I just realized that I don't enjoy going to a full-time office every day. I like the change in the routine and the switch up of being able to go into different offices and temp throughout offices. But I also like the business aspect of it. I liked being able to place people in good offices that they're meant to go to and finding them the right fit. Because I feel like that's where people, get themselves burnt out and want to leave the op so badly is because they're in the wrong office. They're not in an office that works for them. Or I deal with a lot of people that they don't want to work full time. They only want to temp because they're doing some sort of entrepreneurship or they're doing some sort of dentalpreneurship, or they're a mom and they want to be home with their kids whenever they want to be. So they fill in at different offices and temp throughout to kind of fill the gaps in their schedule. Mm-hmm. And I just fell in love with it, being able to help those people, find great offices to work for. And that's kind of how Core Dental Staffing really started. And it's really grown from there. We service Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia right now. And our goal is eventually to service the entire East Coast.
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, you said that you knew that you always wanted to have a dental temping staffing agency. And so when COVID hit and you went back to work, you realized this is it. So we know that everything is in baby steps, right? So for those listening, sometimes there's this concept of thinking like, here I am and I want to get here. And it seems to a lot of people who don't understand the steps in between that it looks like someone just jumped from this rock over to this one. But obviously there's a lot of these little baby steps in here. So can you walk us through the process of how that occurred? So you first decided, I'm not going back after COVID, like, well, I am, but I want to have my own schedule. How did that, through those steps, grow into actually having a business?
So I joke all the time that even though my business never started in 2000, well, not even 2011, I started in dentistry when I was a senior in high school. And I joke all the time that my business really started then. It may not have been necessarily a thought even in high school or even, anything on paper, but that's when I started my networking. And that's the biggest thing that grew my business, was being able to network with like-minded people and being able to find these people that are quality dental professionals to work for me. Started from when I was a senior in high school and I was networking. Like literally one of the girls that I worked with at a dental office is still my friend to this day. And she went through so much together in those 20 years. Well, almost 20 years, I guess, whatever. I'm bad at math. And we've been through so much together, but my networking really started then. So yeah, my company didn't start till 2020, but I had been doing everything to lead up to that from there. But like you said, nothing starts overnight. And I think I really just got tired of dealing with other offices and dealing with other people tell me how to live my career. And I wanted to build my own career. So that's kind of, like I said, I kind of just took a leap of faith. I saw a lot of other people doing entrepreneurship, or dentpreneurship, as I like to say. And I'm like, no one's going to help me get out of the op. I have to take the steps to do it myself. And so I got myself an EIN. I created an LLC. I got someone to build my website. I got someone to help me do some marketing for my business. But truthfully, a lot of the steps were connecting with people to help guide me that I had already networked with and that I had already built relationships, and that were kind of just like a street. If you ever need help with anything, give me a call. I'll help you in any way, shape, or form that I can. And so, kind of just build from there. So yeah, it started in 2020, but it's been like a learning and growing process ever since then. And I found myself networking and in different groups of other people that have other dental businesses to kind of bounce ideas off of.
This is really important. You and I talked previously about temping your way to the top. That's the name of this video. And so can you kind of walk through for someone who is in an office but feels that feeling of being trapped in the op, and they're wanting to branch out, or some just flat out leave the op because they don't see the light in understanding, like, where do I go from here? We see these posts that dental hygienists are writing in these different Facebook groups that are like, I want out. How do I make the same money? Or, and so what advice do you have for hygienists who are where they are now? They don't know where to go from here. They're wanting out quickly, but still, making that money, because that's really where your business comes in to help hygienists who are in that position.
And that's the biggest thing that, I think everybody struggles with, is they all want to make hygiene pay, but they don't want to do hygiene. And realistically, it's going to take time for you to build that, that income that you had from hygiene in your, whatever you decide to do next, because you're not going to make hygiene pay. But that's the beauty of temping, is you can temp and make hygiene pay to pay the bills, but still do your side hustle, whatever it is, whether it's speaking or sales, or, you go in a completely different line of field, whatever you want to do, you still have that opportunity to temp and make that hygiene pay that you want to pay your bills, but still fulfill your dreams. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about temping, is there is no set schedule per se. You set your schedule. So if you're working on your business 5 days out of the week and you only have 2 days left, you can temp those 2 days. Or, you know, if you only have 1 day a month that you can temp, at least you're working that 1 day to make that hygiene pay to supplement your income, so you can still do your passion and what you love and do whatever your, you know, side gig
What
is.
skills did you feel like you had, or did you have to basically go and get new skills in order to start a business? Just, this is for hygienists who are really feeling that entrepreneurial spirit, but not knowing where to start. Do they go back to school? I see a lot of questions of like, do I have to go back to school to stay, if they're wanting to stay in dentistry? How did you proceed? Was it just your sheer motivation that you had to create this?
I definitely think, you know, taking that leap of faith and having that drive to go and do it, because a lot of people say they want to get out of the op, but they don't want to put the effort and the steps in to actually get to that point. It's hard work. I temp full time, and then I come home, I take care of 2 kids and I take, you know, I'm there for my husband, you know, we're a family, but I also do, you know, all of the behind the scenes stuff, you know, for the business after hours. So you have to be willing to put in that work. And I think a lot of people just, they want to see the success, and they want the success, but they don't necessarily always want to put in the work behind it. So you've got to really be motivated and know that there's going to be tough times. There's going to be nights where you're staying up till midnight working on marketing and, you know, working on sending out invoices and working on networking with people. But I think realistically, you don't necessarily need to have a higher career or not higher career, higher education. It's figuring out what you want to do, and then seeing if you have anybody within your network that can help guide you into those steps, and then taking that leap of faith and just doing it and putting in the work. You know, I say all the time, it's not necessarily your degree, it's who you know and who can help you, you know, get to where you want. Networking has been the biggest blessing for my business, because I've been able to network with people, and, you know, they're like, oh, well, I know somebody that's looking for this position. Can you help them? Or, you know, I know somebody that's looking to temp. I'm going to send them your way. I really haven't spent a whole lot of money in marketing. A lot of what I've done is networking and building that trust through my networks, and being able to just have someone refer me word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. What freedom do you feel like you've gained by stepping out of just this typical role of being a hygienist, an employee, and now stepping into the CEO role of basically having your own temping business, temping when you want, having that control? Can you share some of the freedoms that you've gained from that will help encourage other hygienists who are feeling that being trapped?
I feel like everybody thinks that you're going to start your side gig and you're instantly going to have the freedom, quote unquote, that you're thinking like you're not going to work anymore. And realistically, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. You got to put in that effort and that work. But the freedom comes from knowing that I'm not putting in these hours for someone else to make the money. I'm putting in these hours for myself to make the money and for my business to grow, not someone else's business to grow. Mm-hmm. And I know that, you know, yes, I'm putting in long hours now, but in the long run, it's going to pay off to the point where, yeah, I can go and take a day off or take a week off or take a month off and enjoy that time. But for right now, you got to put in that hard work to get yourself to that point. Mm-hmm. But it's things where you're already putting in the hard work for somebody else. I would rather put in the hard work for my business and watch my business grow than put in the hard work for somebody else and watch their business grow and just get a paycheck from them every single week.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. You know, something just came to mind that I think a lot of hygienists, including myself, have had these questions before. When you're temping, you know, we've been 1099 for so many years to then have to pay taxes on the money. And I've seen in some of these groups, you know, hygienists asking, what is this legal? What is this? Does this vary by state? So do you have how does it work with you specifically in your agency as a hygienist who's contacting you and saying, I want to go temp somewhere. How does the whole taxes work in all of that? Do you have any recommendations for hygienists?
I mean, I'm not an accountant, so I can't study what they're supposed to do in terms of, We know that we're not independent contractors. We are employed by the dentist themselves. So you are to be always put on payroll and paid via, you fill out a W-4 and then you get a W-2 at the end of the year. And that's regardless of how many days you worked with them. You're to be put on payroll and paid directly through the doctor via, we are not independent contractors.
Yes. And do you have that?
It's a matter of educating the doctors on this policies. I think their accountant that doesn't necessarily know anything about dentistry and how being an I-99 works as a hygienist, I think they just don't know. And so being able to educate them is the best thing that you can do and that we can do to help guide them through the proper process.
Yeah. I feel like
we'll have a lot of W-2s at the end of the year, which really isn't that big of a deal. I do my own taxes and you just fill in the paperwork and
right. Absolutely. I mean, truthfully, I would love to believe that someday we could be independent contractors, to be honest with you.
You can be, like Colorado. I think you can own your own dental hygiene practice and stuff like but they're very few and far between states that are like that. But maybe it'll broaden throughout more states and more people can open up their own hygiene clinics and things of that sort.
I really feel like it's been important us having this conversation because so many hygienists, at least it feels that way in what I'm reading on social media, so many hygienists feel stuck. And this feeling, I think, was already existent, but when COVID hit, I think really, people were like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And then that feeling of being trapped became that much more apparent.
Yeah.
That was already kind of there anyway. And one of my missions or goals is to really help hygienists realize that they don't have to be trapped, because that really is just a perception. It doesn't mean it's actually happening. It's just, it takes a different mindset and a way of thinking outside of the box to say, and really to take your power back, to be like, actually, I'm not trapped here. I have options, and they are still within dentistry if a hygienist chooses to stay within dentistry. I think Absolutely. When we have that feeling of being trapped, we have that feeling of being burned out. What's the number one thing we want to do? We want to run. We want to get out, right? But I think if we just kind of change our mindset and again, have that mentality of really kind of like thinking outside of the box and how can I do things differently? It's going to take us hygienists to have that mindset more and more, because when we are able to change our mindset and our perception of what we're offering and what we can do within dentistry, it's going to create that ripple effect, right? And then I think dentists will catch on. Right now, still here we are in 2022, and dentists are in this mindset of, sometimes I feel like they don't even exactly know what we're doing. They are also just seeing us as like these teeth cleaners, but there's so much
more than that.
Right.
But I also think that some of it starts from hygiene school. They drill it down your head that you go and you work clinical. They don't talk about careers that there are. And people think that clinical hygiene is the only thing that you can do. And it's just not true. There's so many other avenues. There's so many other ways to do it. And that's, like I said, that's the beauty. We talked about temping to the top. That's the beauty of temping, is you can quit that full-time job to pursue whatever it is, even, if it's in dentistry, if it's not in dentistry, you can temp your way to still receiving that pay that you want through clinical, but, being able to build yourself to the point where you're making that money that you would at clinical, but in your other avenues. And I think it's just not talked about enough, the different options of what there is that you can do in dentistry that's not just clinical. They don't talk enough about how there's sales jobs, how there's teaching positions, how there's, you could be a rep for lunch and learns, you could do myofunctional therapy, you could do forensic dentistry. Like, there's so many other options, but all that's talked about when you're in school is clinical.
Right.
And so these new grads are coming out and they're getting burnt out very easily being put in the wrong office, or just, not being able to feel like they can stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves.
Yes.
And so they just get burnt out, and then they just leave dentistry altogether because they don't know that there's other options to pursue a career in dentistry that's not clinical.
Right. Absolutely. And on that note, thank you for sharing all of that. And on that note, I'd like to add, if you just simply open the CDT code book and go into the preventive section, if you look at all of the codes that are listed in our section, that alone is enlightening to what else we can be doing with patients versus just, some hygienists, I feel like, are just seeing themselves as teeth cleaners. They're really just like pushing this assembly line of like clean teeth,
Yeah.
clean teeth, clean teeth, which is a whole nother thing that I have an issue with. But if you just simply open that book, you can say, oh my gosh, I can do all of these other things, like one, for example, go ahead.
I've even people go on to become lactation consultants, speech therapists, like
yes,
expanding and have to get some further education for that. But it's still within our realm of dentistry, speech therapy, that's dealing with your tongue, that's dealing with the way that your mouth moves in order to be able to pronunciate words. Lactation consultants, same thing. They're dealing with tongue ties, they're dealing with, lip ties and things like that. All that is within our realm of dentistry. It may not be necessarily what you were engraved to do. Like, we clean teeth, we deal with periodontal disease, things like that. But it's still in the realm of what you're knowledgeable about, but something dentistry. And I think people just don't know about these careers.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay. So as we wrap this up, what is one piece of advice you can give a hygienist who has that feeling of being trapped in an op?
I think, you just have to get yourself to the mindset where you have that leap of faith to be able to go off and pursue your dreams, and know that clinical dentistry will always be there for you to fall back on if, you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't afford the bills this month because maybe my business didn't make enough revenue. Okay, well, I'm going to go tempt myself for a couple of days and make that revenue that I'm used to. But you're not feeling that pressure of feeling trapped within clinical dentistry, because you're now pursuing your dreams and you're pursuing what you really wanted to do, but you're still having that little bit of fallback to fall back on. So I would just say, get yourself in that mindset, believe in yourself, take that leap of faith and prevail. You're going to get knocked down, you're going to have failures, but they're things to learn from that'll eventually put you to the top.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So for all of you hygienists, yes, thank you for being on here. I am really excited to share your business. So I will have the information in this video, in this article, but it's coredentalstaffing.com that you can find her website. And then you can also find her on social media on Facebook, Core Dental Staffing, right?
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn. I'm either under staffing or I'm under the traveling hygienist. So I'm under.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty much under both of them.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to Astrida, and I'm sure she will welcome any of your questions and help you find the answers that you're looking for. So thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you feel like you're struggling with finding the correct path for you, or understanding if you should stay in dentistry as a hygienist, or maybe even branch out and go to something completely different, wherever you are, if you feel like you need some help, some direction in getting on the right path for yourself, please reach out to me. You can find me on social media, on Facebook at The Awakened Hygienist, or come over to my website at theawakenedhygienist.com. Send me a message. Let's connect and let's see how we can get you into either entrepreneurship or maybe even just out of the op. Whatever it is that you choose, I'm here for you, and I'm here to help guide you if that's what you're looking for. All right, take care. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.